Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan, and don't skip this one. This is a member of the Freedom Express Select Edition, or SE, or as I call it, smartly equipped. It's like, does this phrase describe you? You like the floor plan of like a, say a private bunkhouse like stick and tin trailer, but you don't like the idea of stick and tin build. You prefer the idea of aluminum framed lamination. You want Azdel, you want carpetless. You want some of those upscale features like an enclosed underbelly, but you have a hard time finding those in a stick and tin class, especially things like aluminum and Azdel, which you don't find there. That's where this one comes in. This is like the basis of the entire Freedom Express family, and they only go up from here from the SE series to the Ultralite 292 BHDS up into the Liberty Edition 292 BHDS LE, LE standing for Liberty Edition. This floor plan is so popular, they make it three ways so that there's a Freedom Express basically for more vehicles for every budget. That's the thing. This one comes in lighter weight, less money. It's only 6,120 pounds dry weight, which fits well within a lot of half-ton towability. I want to mention it is 33 feet 4 inches tip to tail. That might be a little bit long for what some people feel comfortable on a half-ton. You may want to go 3/4. That is really a matter of personal preference, and I'm not going to argue with anybody who feels one way or the other about that. I recognize both sides of that equation. But there's so much value here. But the real, I think, magic and secret in the sauce of this one is because it comes out of the same plant where they make the fancier Freedom Expresses, which this isn't lesser in any way. It's the exact same structure, like walkable roof and all that heated underbelly. It's just they haven't added all the peanuts and the sprinkles to this sundae yet. That's what this one is here. If you just want a vanilla sundae with fudge toppings, that's this guy. If you want the cookie dough and the peanut butter sauce and all the other goodies on it, maybe you want to look at a 292 BHDS. And I think as we go through this, you'll see what I mean. But again, the really key features, it's amazing how many awesome features they still managed to include on this one. Now, if you haven't seen one of these since last year, a lot on the inside of this has changed. And if the first glance at this decor is like culture shock to you, I actually recommend you kind of do what I did. Step back, like maybe zip outside in the RV video section, and then come back to it. And like every time I do that, it starts to grow on me a little more, but it's definitely not what I was originally sort of thinking and expecting based on last year's lighter decor. But I don't dislike it because I think the light and the dark are contrasted very, very nicely. And what I think, again, is really the calling card of this model is all of the really like fancy features that still exist here. I'm not going to say at an entry-level price point. I think it's closer to an entry-level price point versus most laminated trailers. Like, did you notice that is a full 3-foot deep true super slide that's completely carpetless? We still maintain a taller 6'9" ceiling. I typically still put a larger air conditioner on these whenever possible, and your feedback, folks, made this happen. Are you seeing that refrigerator right there? Are you noticing how that is a 12-volt DC compressor fridge? That is not something that was available last year on the SE series. It was only a 6 cubic foot gas electric fridge last year. But so many people said, man, I don't really care for that. I wish it had one of those bigger 12-volt fridges. They said, you know what? Everybody wants it. We're going to make it happen. So now we all get the benefit of that 10-plus cubic foot, faster cooling, and totally travel-safe 12-volt DC compressor fridge in this thing. Now, you might be noticing, I mean, everything in the slide out is storage, but the slide seating also folds down into bonus sleepers, which is great. And to be fair, this one doesn't have the slide side windows of its big brothers. That is a huge cost vector, by the way, but we actually, this morning, had a 292 BHDS Freedom Express come in. I will leave you a link, to those videos. But one of the things I can tell you is it feels, I swear, about 10 degrees cooler in this one, and I swear it's largely because it just doesn't have quite as many windows, which are giant thermal holes in the wall that we just don't talk about enough. I like windows, I do, but windows make RVs hot in the summertime. Now, just like its big brother, this has a 6'9" ceiling, which means if you're 6'3", 6'4", or shorter, you're going to stand in that shower just fine without needing your head in the skylight. And frankly, I bet you could be 6.5", 6'7", and still manage to get in there in the skylight, which Man, when we're trying to talk about more price-sensitive trailers, and again, I'm not going to call this an entry-level camper by any means. It's certainly not an entry-level price point. It's approaching that by comparison to most things. It just, I don't know, it's a big difference. Now, the SE series, it is a plastic toilet. You know what? Camper I camp in's got a plastic toilet. I've been camping in it for years. I get along just fine. But if that's not okay by you, usually a toilet's an easy thing to swap out. And that's kind of one of the cool things about the SE series. If you don't need all of the, and I apologize, I don't know how else to say this other than in industry jargon. If you don't need all of the fancy pants, shiny shoes stuff, well then, this one's good for you. And then you can just add a couple upgrades here and there as you need them. Now, it doesn't have the rear wall windows of its big brother, but it still has windows for every bunk. Every window opens, and they have these snap-on blackout shades, which they don't get destroyed by kids rolling over or horsing around at night, by the way, which is cool. Power outlet down here as we come down the base of that. Handy little shoe garage. And I think one of the major things that actually is a super positive feature on this camper is right here. A lack of outside kitchen, creating a fourth individual separate bunk space. Have you noticed how a true quad bunkhouse is about as rare as frog's hair nowadays? Or perhaps they're as rare as hen's teeth, however you prefer them. Now, coming out of the bunkhouse here, you might notice they do fewer lights in the SE versus the full-on Ultralite or Liberty Edition. But as we've gone through this, even with the darker decor, has it felt oppressively dark or anything like that? Now, that's not a question that only has one answer. You could say yes or no. I don't know what your answer is going to be. I personally don't feel so. And I tell you, that stainless front on that fridge, I think looks way better in this decor than it did in the other lighter decor color. Now, something I didn't talk about when we were in the kitchen previously was the fact that this is an extra deep countertop. And where you can see that is, notice how much room is left behind the stovetop. I wish they'd put a side guard over here. I wish that all the time, frankly. But it's like almost 9 or 10 inches deeper over here. And why is it Coachmen's still one of the only manufacturers that does this, that adds the little like boat anchor string tie down so that the string for that shade doesn't accidentally get over by the stovetop and, not good. And I tell you, when I start hearing price sensitive, I start thinking, okay, we're going to lose our doors and go to curtains. Frankly, I'm impressed not only with the fact that they maintained the door, but maintained a television. And that swing arm mount, I think, is really needed in this model so that when you are stuck inside on a rainy day, you're not at a total neck crank scenario. And by the way, you don't have all the door side windows in the world here, but between the kitchen window and the bedroom there a little bit, and the entry door, obviously, some decent coverage. I would like personally a shade in the entry door, but I harp on that all the time. I'll probably continue to do that until the manufacturers start taking care of those things. But hey, both sides of the bed still maintain household and USB plugs on those side stands. You've got dual full-length hanging closets, so there's no sharp corners to jab you. And if you're feeling a little claustrophobic, I suppose you could basically modify those by cutting in like a little access panel or something like that, which frankly is kind of nice anyway, just to have a place to tuck your phone at night so the light doesn't bother you. Breeze windows across from one another here in the bedroom, and you do still have storage under the bed. But I'm not trying to smoke screen here. It is not an easy lift gas strutted system in the SE series. It's not hard to do. You just lift the mattress up and then the bed deck will prop the mattress up like I've done here. But if all you need, you're just like, yeah, I really like this thing, but I'd like a couple gas struts, we could figure out a way to add some of those for you. Don't let that be a deal breaker. Once again, the benefit of the SE series is that if you want to upgrade one or two little things, but overall you're looking for simplicity, you can come out like a bandit and save a ton of money by comparison to the big fancy brothers. And I tell you all the time, hey, you could take that table, you could bring it over here, you could make it a dinofa, la 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 la. I don't know that I ever display it very often, though. I thought it'd be cool to actually do that. One of the benefits of this floor plan not having a big bulky hide-a-bed is that the legs of this table can actually slide under it a little bit. You can really poke thing right up to you, but I've got like a good 4 inches in front of my big bulbous belly right here. This works. This is comfortable. I want to be totally clear though. You start pushing it forward and it's going to hit the front of that slide. It's going to tip forward. If you want it a little further away, one of the neat things is there's little screw feet on the bottom of this table. So if you want the back feet to be down lower than the front, you could have it set like this and be perfectly sturdy, and then just reset them, screw them back in real quick, and slide them over here by the dinette. The other cool thing that you can do with this though is if you want to, you could leave that table over there or take it outside for picnic time and leave this as like just a double open kind of sofa lounge combo. Nothing says that has to be only a dinette. Or, you know what else that could work for? You get that table out of the way. That's not a bad little pack and play storage place right there. But whether it's this 29 SE or the Big Brother 292 BHDS, they have the exact same Achilles heel when it comes to travel and road mode. When that super slide's closed, you can get around here. You can get to the kitchen. You can open the refrigerator enough that you can access stuff. But the bathroom, the bunks in the back, you're just straight losing them. Now, to be fair, of any sort of private rear bunkhouse like this, that's a pretty common occurrence, but I do like to point that out. I like you folks to know the good and the bad with the RVs that we have here. And are you a person that just can't stand those fold-in stable steps? Either you've had trouble with them at your campsite. Most of the time they work out fine. Every now and then you'll find a campsite where you can't get those legs adjusted how you want to. I tell you, bringing a couple little boards to help cheat that a little bit sometimes is a get-out-of-jail-free pass. Sometimes they're just a little bit tricky. The other thing is sometimes at storage sites, there's not enough room to flip those things down. These old traditional fold-out steps, you know what? They still continue to work, and I can get in and out of this camper just fine. And if you want the benefit of a stable step with these fold-out steps, there are little legs that you can install on the bottom of these that drop down. You'll actually see those on our Wolfpack toy haulers sometimes, in case you're curious, or on the Catalina toy haulers will occasionally do something like that. So you can get the stability without the steps folding into the RV. There's usually more than one way to skin a cat. But if the scars on my arm here are any indication, I certainly learned there's a wrong way to shave one. The SE series here maintains that handy power tongue jack, so when you're getting hitched up, it does the heavy lifting for you. And you might notice, it doesn't have a nose cap, it doesn't have a windshield. What if I told you those are not necessarily bad things? The nose cap looks cool, it looks amazing, but it doesn't change the seam points, it doesn't change the seal points or anything like that. It does add some weight and some cost. So you could argue that maybe the nose cap's not always the best option. And also a lack of windshield means that bedroom up front is going to stay cooler a lot easier in the beaming sunlight. There are sometimes benefits to not having certain things, you know. And this is, again, this is really the classic version of the old 292. Just, you know, the 292 continued to evolve, but they kept a version of it laying around. You still have a spare tire up here on the tongue, which helps with load equalizing, by the way. And this RV is basically key to like all the baggage doors and the entry doors, they're all on one key, which is, it's just really handy if you've never had an RV that has that. You just don't even realize how not having to juggle keys is fantastic. Now, we saw it a little bit briefly in our intro footage, but just to give you a look at the power awning opened up there to show you that your shaded patio space. Next to the door, we still have that handy barley poppinator, which also doubles as a dog leash latch. And compared to the 292 BHDS, which back here, it sacrifices one of the 4 bunks to give you a giant, very nicely appointed, absolutely outside kitchen. Not everybody cares about a camp kitchen. Some people want the extra bunk, some people want extra storage. But what you may not realize is if you look down below the skirt behind the tire, you see a little white flag hanging down? There is still a propane cooker hooker down there, so you can still hook a grill up to this thing. It still has reverse travel safety lighting. Now, it doesn't have backup camera prep, but you want to know a secret? Frankly, every RV is equally backup camera ready, whether it has the prep point on it or not, because there are little camera mounts that basically slide under those marker lights, and just the camera feeds its power off the marker lights, which frankly is what happens anyway. So if you want a backup camera on this and it's not prepped for it, no big deal. That is just not hard stuff for us here at Haylett RV to handle for you. Now, all of our hookups are in the back corner of the RV. That is the best place to do that stuff, because this is where most parks have their hookups. Now, I've been at a couple wacky campsites, so that's not always going to be the case, but more often than not it is. On the 292, this doesn't go all the way through. This is the classic version of this floor plan. It actually has not one, but two full pass-through compartments, which I think personally is very, very cool. It allows you to really pack the sucker up, and that's another thing with this one. Another advantage this actually has, because it doesn't have all the extra widgets and whiz bangs, because it is a lighter weight, that means it has a higher load capacity. You can actually pack more cargo into this versus its fancy dancy brothers with all the fancy nose caps and stuff. This RV, I think, absolutely has a role out there in the marketplace. Now, it does not have a ladder, nor is a ladder available on these. I just want to point that out. I need to double check at the time that I'm saying this to see if it is aftermarket ladder capable, because they don't offer a factory ladder on these. If they did, I would probably try to put it on myself. But you may have noticed inside that pass-through, there was a little sticker on the wall. That is a charge controller point. Even here in the smartly equipped SE series, it is still roof solar prepped and is all set and ready if you want to add a panel, a charge controller, and get yourself off grid a little bit. So let me know what you think. Do you like it as it is? Like, are you looking for a more simple camper, or would you prefer a fancier 292 BHDS glamper? It's not totally the budget of a stick and tin trailer, but it's a lot closer than most other laminated trailers. That's what I like about this one. It's a really cool in-betweener that I bet on a budget basis, you're talking a difference of 20 bucks a month between a stick and tin trailer and something like this. And as always, if you want to see pricing and availability, I leave you links for that stuff in the video description. You can always check those things at any time without ever needing to call here and speak to somebody. And when you're ready, we're family owned and operated, we would naturally sure love the chance to work with you. So give us a call. We don't do hidden dealer fees. We just do everything else. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy Haylett camping, everyone.